years in particular. As a matter of fact, it goes more than that, but it's just been exacerbated with this president and this administration. And the problem is a straight line between Washington, D.C. and Wall Street. I mean, the idea that we're sending that much money to Wall Street financiers. I mean, we opened up the paper last week, and we find out that, I mean, I was ready to blow my top with $700 billion of TARP money going out, and then I find out that there's $7.7 trillion of our money that the Treasury secretly has sent to these Wall Street banks to bail them out because they made bad decisions. What are we doing? It is time. I've got a cure for that one, and it is overhaul in Washington, D.C. And number one on the overhaul of Washington, D.C. is make the United States Congress part-time.
Yeah.
Cut their pay in half, cut their staff in half, send them home half-time, let them have a job like everybody else has, and they can work and live under the laws that they pass. And
Amen.
Say, oh, you can't do that. Yes, you can do that, and let me tell you why. You go look at what happens in the South Carolina legislature. Texas. We're the 13th largest economy in the world if we were a standalone entity. And we meet for 140 days every other year. And we get our balance, our budget balanced. We get our work done. Those legislators get paid $600 a month. And then they go back home to their real lives, their real jobs, and they live under the laws. I will suggest to you that that is one of the ways that we transition this country back to a substantially clearer version of what our founding fathers had in mind. We got to get this country back to work. I talked about the fastest way we get this country back to work is to open up the federal lands and waters to use the energy that we have in this country. There's over 300 years worth of energy in America, and substantial amounts of that are locked up in federal lands that the government will not allow us to go explore and to use.
It's ridiculous.
You think about that XL pipeline that's coming out of Canada, the jobs that would be created. I mean, it is a powerful number of 20,000 jobs just to build that pipeline. We're talking about Canadian oil sands coming down to Texas for the refinery side. And that oil is going somewhere. The Canadians are not going to leave it in the ground. They're going to sell that oil. It's either going to go west to China or it's going to go south to the United States.
Let's go south.
For me, that's a no-brainer. But obviously it's not for this president because he's put it off. He wants to give some more thought to it. And all he's doing is placating and playing to his activist liberal base
He's a
in
fool.
that activist environmental community by saying, we're just going to put this off. I don't want it to become an issue. Mr. President, I'm going to make it an issue in this campaign.
Yeah.
America needs it. This is energy that would go to that Lexington plant, that big Michelin plant in Lexington, South Carolina, that's making those huge, big wheels, tires for those pieces of equipment to be used in those tar sands and that extraction process. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. This isn't jobs just for down through the middle of America. This is also jobs in South Carolina. So this issue does affect you, and it affects you directly. But it's more than just jobs. It's about the security of this country. We're sending hundreds of billions of dollars every year offshore to places, in some cases, that don't have America's best interest in mind. I look forward to the day because we have opened up our domestic production and we've expanded all the other sources of energy that we have in this country, where we can tell Mr. Hugo Chavez, no thank you, sir, we don't need any of your oil. You can keep it.
Yeah.
A tax policy. One of the reasons that we compete against each other. And you got a great governor over here, and I tell Nikki on a regular basis, I said, now stay out of Texas, leave our football players and our jobs alone. And she just last and said, "You better get to work, buddy."
Giving a hand.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's what our founding fathers saw 50, well, they didn't, I'm not sure they perceived there would be 50 states out there. But today we have 50 laboratories of innovation. 50 places where experimentation, whether it's on how to deliver healthcare, how to build transportation infrastructure, how to educate our children and what processes work, and then people can pick and choose the best one for their citizens. But taxes and regulation are two of the things that the states have great access and great impact on. And I will suggest to you that's one of the reasons that people are not expending their money. There's no confidence that Washington, D.C. is not fixing to change tax policy again, or print a bunch of money, or come up with a new regulation. They're creating 10 new regulations a day in Washington, D.C. And by and large, these aren't making our country any safer. It's not making our water any cleaner. It's not making our air any better cleaner to breathe. They're just regulations that cost money, cost of compliance. And people are scared to death. When's the next shoe going to drop? What's the next tax they're going to put on us? What's the next regulation that's coming? And we need an outsider who will walk into Washington, D.C. and deconstruct that place. A person who's not afraid to take out a veto pen when there's earmarks that come in on the bill with the earmarks. When an agency comes in that we don't need, like the Department of Education. I mean, why do we need a federal Department of Education? You know how to educate your children in South Carolina. We don't need Washington taking our money up there, skimming off their part, using $1 billion for administration, and then picking winners and losers out across the country. Leave it in the states. And there's a number of agencies like that. But you got to have an outsider that's willing to walk in and deconstruct what has been put together in Washington, D.C., whether it's this corrupt relationship between Washington and Wall Street, or whether it's to get a handle on this spending. Because that $15 trillion, you guys are going to have to pay for it. I mean, it's on your back, but it's on my time and our responsibility, where you don't have to deal with it. And we know how to take care of that debt. We know whether it's creating the jobs or taking part of that money off of those federal lands and from the energy resources to pay that debt down and get this country back on track. We know how to do that. We know how that the tax burden out there is too heavy on people. That's the reason I laid out a plan for a 20% flat tax. You deduct for your mortgage, you deduct for your charitable giving, you deduct for the sales tax or local taxes that you have. You get rid of the capital gains tax, you get rid of the dividends tax, and then you put it on that. Take 20% of it and put it on that and send it in. I mean, I told somebody the other day, I said, even Tim Geithner can get his taxes in on time. If you get it that simple. 20% corporate tax rate, get rid of the corporate loopholes. Get rid of those lobbyists that are up there ripping us off and getting corporate sweet deals for their buddies. But you got to have a president that's got the backbone and that is an absolute outsider. I believe that with all my heart. It's going to take an absolute outsider to go to Washington, D.C. and to say no. And to say no on a regular basis. Where that the congressmen and women who I'm going to be working with understand that we're getting this country back. And we're not going to allow the bureaucrats, and we're not going to let the special interests, and we're not going to let the people that have got us in this mess stay in place. We have to get our country back. And if you'll cover my back here in South Carolina, I'll cover your back in Washington, D.C. God bless you. Thank you all for letting me be a part of it.
Pay for Chris.